What the fuck am I doing? I'm just making a video. Dreadlock video time. Back at it again. Doing another little video. I want to talk to you guys about the struggles of having dreadlocks. And a lot of people might think that, you know, once I get their locks, it's going to be an easy and effortless journey, but no, it's not. These are the 13 struggles of having dreadlocks. Now, I feel like there's a lot more to this, but these are 13 reasons that I could come up with. Number 1 is gonna be sleeping at night. Especially when your dreadlocks are a lot longer, it can get troublesome to sleep because, for example, like myself, my hair is at 8 years length. And lately, I haven't been covering it at night. It's my bad, I know, but I'm usually pretty good at covering my locks when they're shorter anyways, using like a silk bonnet or even just like a gaiter like this. I can tie it up out of the way, but when I don't tie it up, I often wake up with my locks like trying to strangle a motherfucker. Sleeping at night can definitely be a big struggle when having dreadlocks. So how do you solve that? You invest in things like a lock tube, a lock sock, a really big tam, or a neck gaiter. These are things that, or even just a ponytail, these are things that can help you avoid strangulation at nighttime with your locks. Moving on to the next one is breakage at the ends. Now, it does happen, especially with a lot thinner locks. You'll find that if you've been twisting or interlocking your hair over time, the ends might start to wear out. Now, I'm a freeformer, and even I've come across this struggle, even though I don't maintain my locks. What I tend to do with like ends that are like about to break off, I tie knots in it to make it sturdier. And the knot actually does help reinforce strength in there. Ends breaking off is not necessarily a huge struggle. It's more of an irritant. And people just get annoyed at it because they don't want to lose their locks. But in the eyes of a freeformer, I see these locks like a tree. Trees sway in the wind and they lose branches all the time. It actually makes the tree grow back stronger when a branch breaks off. So by being able to accept when our locks are breaking off naturally, deep down inside it really does make us stronger because we're not worried about it. We're fine with it. We've accepted it with ourselves. Breakage at the ends is a struggle for a lot, but you can solve this by strengthening your mindset and accepting yourself and your locks for who they are. That's really all there is to it. Breakage in general. Now this is another struggle of dreadlocks that can happen. So maybe it's not just at the ends, but in general, you might get a breakage at the root, in the middle. You know, this type of thing does happen. The only way we can really avoid breakage in our locks is by taking care of them. Moisturize them, wash them. Don't play with them, don't pull on them, avoid interlocking and retwisting too tightly, over crochet hooking your locks. Just leave them alone and they should strengthen themselves on their own. So if you are experiencing breakage in general, take a closer look at what your regimen is like and how much excessive force you are using around your head. The best thing we can really do is to just leave our locks. Don't touch them. Don't even look at them. Just distract yourself and move on with life, and your locks will be doing fine and they won't have anything to break from. You see me? This next struggle here is actually one that's very common. I don't find it too much of a problem, but lint. Lint can be a struggle for a lot of people, especially if you're wearing a lot of cotton fabrics. I've had this struggle recently with a orange colored garment that I had bought, and it was a cheaper garment, so it did fluff out on the inside, and every time I'd put this sweater on my head, I would notice little bits of orange in my locks. They're still there. It might not be noticeable at first glance, but when you look really close into my locks, you'll see lint particles. In fact, if I take a neon light, like a blue light, to my locks in the dark, shit starts to glow in the dark like I'm at the club or something. Like, the best thing you can do to avoid lint building up in your locks is actually going to be just avoiding lint to begin with. Be cautious of the type of fabrics you're wearing. If you notice a brightly colored shirt that sheds, don't wear it. You're better off wearing clothing or fabrics that match your hair color. Another way to solve this struggle is by actually dyeing your hair back to a darker color, its natural color. This will in fact dye the lint if you do have a big buildup of lint. Third way is also by covering your locks up at night when we're sleeping, similar to the first struggle and solution. When we cover our locks up at night, we don't pick up the lint that's in our linens and in our bed sheets and our pillowcase. So best thing you can really do is cover your hair at night and avoid wearing very linty clothing. Be aware of it, be cautious and conscious of it. So another struggle that some people may face with their locks, depending on your maintenance regimen, is the feeling of your locks being hard and dry. Dry and hard locks can come about when we don't take care of our locks properly. This could be a result of buildup happening in your locks. This could be a result of too much maintenance in a certain area of your locks. Say you over crochet hooked it or you over interlocked it. This can harden the lock. This can also happen if you apply or reattach donor's dreadlocks to your own set of locks. This will create a part in the extension where it's like your real hair versus the fake hair. It will create a harder section there because it's been crocheted so much. If you're experiencing this and you haven't had extensions put in, apparently a good solution for this is a hot oil treatment. Hot oil treatments restore moisture and they will break down that hardness and dryness that's happening in your locks. Why is my wrist hurting so much today? Really hurting today right now. Now, this next struggle with locks isn't even really a struggle. It's more of a vanity affair. We grow freeform locks specifically to rid of our vanities. During the process, we can't help but obsess with how our dreads are forming and how they're looking, which could be a struggle, because if you can't stop looking at yourself in the mirror because your locks either look so great or they look so bad, either way it's a bad thing to keep on being vain. You know, essentially we just want to let our locks be. Don't even worry about how they look. Go back to being natty and just practice that self-acceptance, because once you have locks on your head, you're beautiful inside and out, regardless of your regimen. So don't worry about what people are thinking about your locks. You know, as long as you love them, that's the most important thing. Another one that's a big struggle, very close to the last struggle, is that some people can't stop touching their locks. This happens, you know, some people just always want to be playing with their hair. They're always twisting it in here, you know, they're always doing something with their locks, you know. Like, this is actually a problem, because when we touch our locks too much, guess what? We're making them dirtier than they need to be. You got oils and residues, and we got shit on our hands that we don't necessarily want to put in our locks. And at the same time, if we're always touching our locks, we could be hindering the locking process. You know, you could be undoing what's happening, especially in the beginning stages. So just let them be, leave them alone. Don't touch your locks. And at the same note, don't let other people touch your locks either. They can ask, you just say no. And if they touch your locks without asking you, backhand them. Maybe not use violence, but verbally backhand them and just be like, no, I did not give you permission to touch my locks. Please don't do that again. Thank you very much. Now, this issue that's coming up is called edge thinning. This is a struggle because a lot of people end up getting their edges here thinning out and being pulled back. It's kind of a common occurrence. The word traction alopecia comes to mind, which is where people that always have their hair tied back into ponytails or into really tight braids tend to catch this because it's excessive force on your scalp, pulling your hair follicles out of your roots, essentially. So the best thing I could say to avoid this struggle is to not braid your dreadlocks. Don't style them in tightly done updos and ponytails and pigtails or whatever that's pulling on your scalp for no reason. And men out there, Especially beware of this because of male pattern baldness that might already be playing a factor in your life, and traction alopecia is definitely not going to help with that. So to prevent edge thinning, my best suggestion is just to stop doing really tight hairstyles. Also, stop lining up and tapering the edges. This does push back the hairline as well. Oh, this next struggle that's coming up here is one that I get a lot in the summer, sometimes in the winter too, but it's itchy, dry scalp. This is probably the #1 struggle with dreadlocks by far. Itchy, dry scalp happens to everybody even if they don't have locks, but when you have locks, it's even harder to deal with because of how long it takes our locks to wash and dry. We might not be as frequent of a washer as somebody with a shaved head. When your dreadlocks get itchy and dry, it's a really good sign that it's time to wash your hair. Now, the water alone will help restore some moisture, especially the cold water, but you know, using things like oils, any oil that you want to find, anything natural, to restore and replenish your scalp before you wash it, and you wash out the oil and then you kind of add some more oil after, can really help. You know, this is a really good process to do. I use a lot of things like organic GMO-free olive oil, organic coconut oil, castor oil, essential oils, tea tree oil, I meant to say, really helps with this as well. So get familiar and grab a couple bottles because it will help you when your shit starts to get dry and itchy. Yo, I just want to say, if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please obliterate that button down below. It's simple, it's free. Now let's get back to the video. So this next issue is about hair at the front. Like myself here, I have a lot of it that just doesn't want to lock up. Never. I've been freeforming for almost 8 years now, and this hair at the front just doesn't lock up. A lot of people might struggle with this because of the vanity involved. Again, it's just more about letting it do its own thing. Just be patient, and in time things will come together, and if not, it wasn't meant to be. You know, I'm not mad. I used to hate having frizzy hair like this. I would be one to interlock it and crochet it in nice and neatly, and you know, make my partitions, make my parts very visible and let my scalp show. But I've just been really good at accepting myself and loving myself lately, where it doesn't matter what people think, because all I'm aiming for is to be natural and natty, and this is what happens naturally for me. And the easiest way to solve this, beyond just being comfortable with yourself, you know, push it back like that. It's a temporary solution, even with a little bit of a spray bottle of water, and you can just kind of like push it down. It's enough to fix it for the moment, momentarily. I know eventually it does come back up and start going frizzy again, but you just push it back down again. Straight and simple. So this, going back to one of the first struggle, which is sleeping at night. This one is that when you're sleeping at night, the struggle of keeping your bonnet on at night. Now, if you even remember to cover your hair at night to begin with, which is the hardest part, keeping it on is another struggle. So I tend to find that these gaiters, because they have elastics in them, they stay on pretty good. Lock socks, anything with an elastic band on it that helps keep it on your head is a good bet. My tams don't really have that, and the tam usually ends up falling off. I find elastic bands too tight to sleep in. So just try to find some sort of sleeping bonnet that has enough space to hold you locked with extra room and has a nice tight elastic on there as well. So here's another big one here, is what to do when you're working out. This is a huge struggle for people with dreadlocks because especially when they're really long. I know some people with hair past 10-year marks and they work out almost every day. What do they do with their locks when they work out? The best thing to do is literally tie them up into a bun on top of your head. Get them out of the way so they're not inferior to your workout. You know, you don't want them in your face and down your back and shit. And one thing for me when working out, I don't want my dreadlock touching gym equipment. So I tend to wrap them up in these gaiters and put it on top of my head. Since my dreadlocks are so long, I need even more reinforcement than that. And I'll put a tam on top of that as well and really keep them out of my face when I'm working out. It's really the only thing you can do. A way to solve this struggle is to actually learn how to wrap your dreads in a turban, because turbans will be able to support the weight of really long locks at the gym. And if your dreads are shorter, easy, just wear a tam. Tams in the gym go hand in hand, and especially for the women out there, wear tams as well. We got to do it. That's just the way to do it. And lastly, the last struggle here with dreadlocks is bursting tips. Now, we did cover this earlier with breakage, but this sort of bursting tips comes from chemicals enhancing our locks. Chemicals such as bleach, dye, these things cause dreadlocks to burst and break, especially bleach. Don't use it. Avoid it. Let the sun bleach your hair naturally. Use lemon juice in the sun to bleach your hair, but avoid the chemical process. Saves money in your wallet, saves hair on your head, and it saves time for your soul. So just avoid it in general. And that's about it. I want to shout out Chris McDread for asking this question over on his Instagram page. And if I've missed anything, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments down below what sort of struggles come to mind with you and your dreadlocks. I'm signing out. Peace out, one love. And subscribe if you haven't yet. Otherwise, I'm gonna come and cut your locks off. I'm gone. Peace.